These are human-made pyramids, remains of a city called Cairo. They are made to realize that they have done something wrong. This appeared to have done the trick and helped heal the injury. By the time the alarm went off, I'd had only 3 hours of sleep. It's clearly not a rule that is telling us what to do. We can believe that the first sentence is true and not the second. The context boils down to what your metric for health is. Of these, none is more important than a successful marriage. I feel the warmth of the sun, cooled by the breeze off the water. The surprise so filled her with glee that she almost trembled a little. Bursting through the leaves was a head 3 times as big as a cub's. They expected the people being laid off to be beaten down and discouraged. That in itself would not have been so bad had it not been for the mice. You ask your spouse why they think your friend didn't respond. It fell more sharply among those who described themselves as overweight. That made Jim so miserable that he stopped going to basketball practice. While this was an understandable approach, it was, in retrospect, wrong-headed. The children are overstimulated and cranky, and so are the parents. It was they who sent my father to prison knowing he was innocent. Whatever they think to the contrary, they think it won't happen to me. You can count on him to help make this special event a success. Many customers stop doing business with you for no particular reason. You can't act like a greedy brute and let your anger get out of control. They ate insects not only to ward off starvation but to enjoy the taste. Given the odds, such a bold commitment was, at the time, outrageous. That's part of what made the United States move vigorously forward. Once there, it convinces them to give up fat to fuel the stress response. Many kids have everything going for them and end up total disasters. It's a chance to kick back, meet new people and discover new things. It is on the basis of the associated pottery that many sites are dated. These droplets effectively screen the mirror so that it appears opaque. Making too many indiscriminate connections will turn a mind to mush. It seems that the larger the soy beetle, the lighter its body color. You feel as if you are on a psychological high, and indeed you are. The course related dramatic stories and episodes derived from myth. Nurses shared the dangers of the men whose wounds they tended. Then, like a fussy old woman, he began checking each line himself. We do not see everything that happens, nor do we hear everything. We take it for granted that film directors are in the game of recycling. The more he thought about it, the unhappier he became with his circumstance. In another spot stands a replica of Thomas Edison's Menlo Park laboratory. Curious to see what was wrong, the man had the animal operated upon. There from the computer screens flickering in the empty offices. Helena ran into the water, holding her breath as the cold shocked her. I hadn't gotten home from the hospital until 2 a.m. and I was exhausted. The new administration wants to get a price put on carbon emissions. The musical sense cannot be acquired or developed without exercise. It is not unusual for someone to shout or slam a door when very agitated. That's why I have devised a framework designed to help people connect. Blessed is he who expects nothing, for he shall never be disappointed. Time spent on one activity, after all, is time taken away from another. Should one supply run out, they could readily shift to another source. The more foods that one ate, the greater the likelihood of being poisoned. Search costs can cause markets to malfunction in large and small ways. Thank you for providing me with the opportunity to write this letter. If you buy an item that isn't on the list, ask him to add it to the list. Love makes it hard to think of anything except the beloved. The book sold for 3 pence, which made it available to the poor. Matisse left for Paris to study art, with his father shouting, "You'll starve." I knew from experience that big waves often came in 2s and 3s. Two days later, Chris died in the hospital, his uniform close at hand. Writing makes it possible for words to live longer than any person can. A new synthesis was necessary, and that is what Cain sought to create. They expect us to know our way around the human mind, but we don't. The juiciness of the stalks depends on how much water the plants receive. The greater the exciting and deceptive effect, the greater is the art. Manet felt the sensation of the child's grip still lingering on his hand. "Bath time," she sang, as if she were saying we could go out to play. She hugged both her foster parents, with snow still laid across her shoulders. The financial casino has everyone playing the game of snakes and ladders. A traffic jam, a frozen computer, or a misplaced set of car keys is annoying. They saw a being who had lived in a spirit world prior to earthly life. If he or she is bad, he or she is assumed to be sneaky, ugly, and inept. It isn't just ancient peoples who believe that dreams foretold the future. The use of the concept of property in these areas is not without controversy. The unconscious has free rein as to what should or should not be seen. In the early 1800s, anesthesia was first used to relieve pain during surgery. Only after the conception do we effortfully engage in disbelieving something. As it turns out, the law of conservation of energy isn't completely accurate. If it were otherwise, nobody would ever bother to read a book twice. Here are some guidelines for toasting wherever you are in the world. I was declared incompetent as a dishwasher and relieved of that duty. On my staff at present is one of the soundest men I have ever had. It's taking a sincere interest in what they have to say. They must have evolved a way to protect their life processes. Let's ask a student named Wendy if she's a good tennis player. It is expected that we should already know who we are. Food plays a large part in how much you enjoy the outdoors. Hearing this was so inspiring to me that I started crying. I remember walking on Christmas morning with my hand in his. This is not only for ease of walking, but also for safety. It becomes a stumbling block that keeps you stuck. It's amazing how little it takes to spark the imitation instinct. By using this definition, it is easy to identify media as old or new. Dream teams are not always so dreamy. Primates fight to determine who is in charge of the tribe. Push and pull motivation require energy. What motivates people to practice at such length in the first place? It is worth differentiating two distinct forms. Erickson told the man that he was to go to bed at his regular time.